They aren't just raiding the treasury anymore. They've moved into the motherboard of the republic itself. The venture capitalists have completed the hostile takeover of the United States government. And David Sachs is the lead architect of your new digital serfdom. This is Underground Globalist News. I'm Alexa Jones. The signal is live, the bunkers are sealed, and the truth is leaking through the cracks in their code. Tonight we crack open Operation Silicon Czar. David Sachs, PayPal COO, Kraft Ventures founder, all-in podcast host, served 130 days as the White House AI and crypto czar, then in March announced he'd used up his time as a special government employee. So what did they do? They promoted him. He's now co-chair of the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. Broader portfolio, wider reach, direct line to the Oval Office, and look who's sitting at that table with him. Mark Andreessen, Jensen Huang, Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison, Sergey Brin, Lisa Su, Fred Ursum from Coinbase. That is not an advisory council. That is the board of directors of the American operating system. They didn't just invite the foxes into the henhouse, they gave them architectural blueprints and a construction contract. Now, the New York Times spent 5 months and 5 reporters investigating this man. What did they find? 708 active tech investments, 449 of them in AI companies, 20 in crypto, all of which could benefit from the policies he personally shaped while sitting in the White House. He sold $200 million in crypto, said it was to avoid even the appearance of a conflict. But the AI holdings, the 449 little portfolio creatures, those stayed. Those are still feeding. And here's where the architecture gets beautiful and hideous at the same time. Kraft Ventures held 7.8% of BitGo, a stablecoin infrastructure company. Sachs backed the Genius Act that lets corporations create their own economies. You see the loop? Then, he flew to the Middle East and brokered a deal to sell 500,000 NVIDIA AI chips to the United Arab Emirates, a multi-billion-dollar arrangement. He personally lobbied Trump to lift restrictions on NVIDIA's export capacity. Jensen Huang, who sits on his advisory council, whose chips he's selling to foreign governments, whose stock price responds to every policy lever Sachs touches. Oh, and he kept 449 AI investments while writing AI policy from inside the White House. He brokered chip deals for the CEO, sitting on his own advisory council. He backed the law that made his portfolio company's IPO possible. And when the states tried to regulate the machine, he helped sign the order that told them to sit down. This isn't a conflict of interest. This is a merger. The venture fund and the federal government are now the same company, and they just did their Series A on your constitutional rights. Call it what it is. An explicit conflict of interest that would normally be prohibited under federal law. But the rules don't apply when the rule makers and the beneficiaries are the same organism. Which is why you need ledger lard. That's right, ledger lard. A thick, patriotic, petroleum-adjacent privacy salve that you smear directly onto your devices, your wallet, your router, and if you're serious, your mailbox. Ledger lard creates what our engineers call a bureaucratic grease layer between your personal data and the Silicon Czar's portfolio tentacles. Does it work? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm a man in a bunker. But I can tell you that since I started applying ledger lard to my phone every morning, David Sachs has not once personally appeared in my home. Not once. That's a 100% prevention rate, folks. You can't argue with the numbers. Each jar comes with a complimentary Terms of Service I Didn't Read bumper sticker, a miniature copy of the Fourth Amendment printed on wax paper, and a single emergency cigarette for when you finally read your own EULA. Not FDA approved, not SEC approved, banned by name in 6 innovation corridors and 1 Whole Foods. Our warehouse was raided twice last quarter by men in fleece vests who refuse to identify their agency. That's how you know it's working. Stay sharp, you digital insurgents. The PayPal mafia may have the advisory council, but we have the frequency they can't jam. Keep your mind off their spreadsheet and your soul out of beta.